What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name is Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, in a lot of ways, San Diego Comic-Con 2022 really was the exclamation point we expected it to be in Marvel Phase 4, and we're about to do it all over again at D23. And in the weeks that followed those SDCC announcements, there were a ton of brand new official confirms, directors attaching to projects like Destin Daniel Cretton of Shang-Chi, now up to direct Avengers Kang Dynasty. And while we were focused on major reveals like that, to annotate what we had heard the weekend before, some major quotes slid under the radar, one in specific from Ant-Man and the Wasp director Peyton Reed, talking about how this film, kicking off Marvel Phase 5, will permanently change the entirety of the MCU. We're going to delve into his quote, and now that I've had a chance to spend some time with my theories in reaction to the first trailer that they showed, I think I know exactly what he's talking about, and it might not be what you think. We're going to break down his quotes about how the upcoming first Marvel Phase 5 movie will entirely rewrite the MCU, what's permanently going to change, and what this means for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially here as we finish the multiverse saga. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews, to the occasional industry insider report, and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so as I said moments ago in the prologue, this is not an industry insider report or a theory of my own or someone else's. This is coming directly from Peyton Reed, the guy who directed the entire Ant-Man and the Wasp trilogy, talking about the brand new film in reaction to the trailer showing at San Diego Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago. This is what he said to Access, quote, "Kicking off Phase 5 is really exciting for us because we're the Ant-Man movies. It's our third movie. It's this trilogy now. But things happen in this movie that are going to change the Marvel Cinematic Universe permanently, and it's fun for us that Scott Lang is at the center of that change." Now, first of all, without any theory crafting at all, this is an extremely exciting promise for the kickoff for Marvel Phase 5 next year with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because it means there's going to be some real stakes. Something or a lot of things are going to change permanently with how the MCU works, and that's going to affect all the other properties that come after it until we conclude in the multiverse saga. So whereas to some people Marvel Phase 4 felt like it was meandering, maybe didn't have direction or was picking up speed, and at worst was avoiding consequences and connections, it seems as though Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or really Marvel Phase 5 as a whole, is going to do that, and almost immediately. The other really exciting proposition raised by this quote is, what exactly about the MCU is permanently going to change? And I think there's some real evidence for what he meant here in the very first look trailer that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con. And it all has to do with Kang's dialogue. Now, in a video that I'm going to talk a little bit more about here in a second, and I'll make sure to link at the end of this, I did it a week ago, I explained why breaking down the Quantumania Ant-Man and the Wasp first trailer from San Diego Comic-Con was so difficult for me. And it all revolved around the fact that Kang's language was extremely contradictory. In that first look trailer, Kang says to Scott, "You're an interesting man, Scott Lang. You've lost a lot of time, but time isn't what you think. It's not a straight line. Everything you're holding on to, everything you call life, I know how it ends." But then immediately asks, "You're an Avenger? Have I killed you before?" If he truly knew how his life ends and everything about him, then he would know if he was an Avenger, and he would know if he had killed him before. And I couldn't understand why he would so boastfully exclaim that he knew everything about his life from presumably time traveling, but then didn't know if he was an Avenger and didn't know if he had killed him before. This is one of the things that is the permanent change. That quote from Peyton Reed really explains the contradictory nature of the dialogue here. Kang used to know everything that was going to happen. He used to have control of the sacred timeline to stop these other Kangs from interfering. But now that sacred timeline is broken, i.e. the way things that were going to go, the circle that was time, that Kang's variant of He Who Remains had created, the end of time, that circle is now broken into a million different directions. So anything that any version of Kang thought he knew about how things were going to go before now has finally changed. I think this also opens up the idea that how we think time travel in the MCU will change. As it was explained in Avengers Endgame, you can't use the past to change the future. That future just becomes part of your old past, and being in the past is your new future, one continual line. But that was the case when there was a He Who Remains at the end of time controlling the sacred timeline in clipping timelines that didn't work with Eliath at the end of time. That's because he was controlling everything. That's now broken. So wherever the rules of time travel applied, however they did in the Infinity Saga, probably will not apply as we go into the Multiverse Saga, and ultimately that allows time travel up and down certain timelines to actually matter a lot more, to intercept events, and I think this will ultimately be revealed as a key going forward into the Multiversal Saga and how to combat Kang. And while ultimately that's its own video, or probably a series of videos over the next couple of years as we start to delve into Avengers Kang Dynasty, just important to note, as permanent changes go, and what he may have been implying in the director is that this is one of them. The rules of time travel may permanently change. The other is variants across the multiverse, and I'm not talking about variants of characters we already have. We've already seen that throughout the entirety of Phase 4, starting with Loki, and pretty much non-stop now. Variants of Spider-Man, variants of Doctor Strange. I'm talking about variants of characters we don't have in the MCU. The reason I say this is because it's kind of hard for Marvel proper to sell Iron Man toys when you don't have an Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And no, I don't think they're dropping in Tom Cruise's superior Iron Man in the next couple of films. But here's my point. Things are going to permanently change and allow them to bring in characters and an opportunity to use characters across the multiverse in Secret Wars. And while yeah, we've already seen versions of the characters we've got, it's the characters we don't have, like Tony Stark, Iron Man, and others that have already left the MCU that could easily have a place in the upcoming Secret Wars. And I'm not just talking about heroes, I'm talking about villains too, like Red Skull and a ton of other characters. The more the merrier, and again, you can't sell toys, you can't move the bottom line for the merchandise, which is the whole reason these movies exist, if you don't have some of your key characters coming into play. Of course, also, you can't have the key interplay of Tony Stark and one Reed Richards, the Illuminati, which certainly have a future, at least in our 616, and some of the other major storylines that would have been great, like an AI Tony Stark in Ironheart coming up next year, if you don't ever bring Iron Man back and leave him alone forever. Also, in that video I just mentioned, again, that will be linked at the end of this, I explained how Tony Stark across the multiverse, because of what we saw in the 616 Infinity Saga, being able to time travel would have been a direct adversary to Kang, and hence would have been one of the variables he would have wanted to control in that sacred timeline. Tony Stark always would have had to die, and that's why, in recontextualizing what happened in the Infinity Saga, the one way that was the way they defeated Thanos was the one way that also took care of Tony Stark. Now that things are not locked up in that sacred timeline, you have an opportunity for characters like that Kang may have been controlling in ultimate unchangeable points in the timeline, now have an opportunity to exist, and that's the same way all his alternate versions of Kang exist now in the MCU as well. So remember, Marvel Studios is going to be going on 20 years by the end of this decade, and while I do think having Tony Stark in R616 have a meaning for why he sacrificed and not bringing back RDJ, I do not think that means you avoid having an Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe forever. And since we're going for Avengers Secret Wars anyway, and as I just said moments ago, the more the merrier. One of these permanent changes could be what kind of characters and from what multiverse we have in the main continuity, how they work together, maybe eventually something like another Iron Man. But you guys let me know down in the comments if you have a different idea about what this permanent change could be. If you don't think it's the way in the rules of time travel, how that works, if you don't think it's multiversal versions of characters that we've lost in the MCU, I'm all ears, let me know down in the comments. Quickly, let's jump into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away PlayStation 5s every 20,000 subscribers, all the way up to 1 million. We are almost at the next milestone of 980. We'll easily hit that by month's end or next. If you want to be entered to win, all the same rules will always apply for all the giveaways here at the channel. All you have to do, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. As always, the best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell, and if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. I'd also appreciate it if you'd take 1 second. I'll leave a link down in the description in the comments. For the next 24 days, about 3 weeks, I'm now in the quarterfinals of a competition run by theoldradio.com. They've been renamed Odyssey, to open a huge show in Hollywood and launch my band All Fires. You guys know I've been releasing music for the last 3 years, and what's got to be the 3rd or 4th band in my life, it's now a solo project. And because of COVID and a lot of other reasons, the band mostly being new, I have not played live yet. However, this would be my kickoff show, and I would sincerely appreciate it if you guys would help me win this thing. How you help me win is you hit the link down below in the comments or the description. If you have a Facebook account, you can link it. You can vote once every 24 hours for free. And like I said, I'm in the quarterfinals now. This is going to run up till September 15th for like the next 24 days. So I'm going to put reminders here at the end of the video. If you vote for me even one time, thank you so much. If you vote for me and then a week from now you remember that I'm in it and you're like, oh shoot, is he still in it? You can vote, you know. Any extra vote is going to count. I really appreciate all y'all's support already who've helped me get to the quarterfinals. So I love you guys. The description will be down in the link or in the comments. I go by Allfires. All you do is hit it and then vote for free. Thank you all. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.